The road to WrestleMania has come to the north. Tonight, we are inside a Capacity Rogers Center in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada for Thursday Night SmackDown. And ladies and gentlemen, before we get into tonight's event, we got to take you back to what just happened moments ago before we went on the air in the parking lot here of the Rogers Arena. Finn Balor, one of the #1 contenders for the world's title at WrestleMania, ambushing the World Heavyweight Champion Damian Priest. Of course, we are set for that triple threat matchup come WrestleMania Saturday, but obviously a few short weeks out from WrestleMania, Balor looking to get the edge over Damian Priest as he just shut that car trunk right on the back, right on the shoulder blades of the heavyweight champion of the world. We know that Damian Priest currently getting checked out by medical after this attack moments ago before he went on the air, ladies and gentlemen. But as we know, coming up on WrestleMania Saturday, March the 7th, World Heavyweight Championship will be on the line as Damian Priest defends the gold against the Prince Finn Balor and the Elimination Chamber match winner, Seth freaking Rollins. And we also know that right here tonight in Vancouver, it is the greatest of all time, John Cena's final match here on SmackDown before he retires at WrestleMania. The GOAT makes one more trip back to the show where it all began. He goes mano-a-mano against the all-Silla, big Bronson Reed. That's right here tonight in Vancouver on SmackDown. A couple of weeks ago, it was Big Jimmy Uso one-on-one with Sheamus. Chaos at ringside, and Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre were sent to the backstage area. Tonight, Jimmy and Sheamus barred from ringside, as now it is Jey and McIntyre set to go one-on-one here to kick things off on SmackDown.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall, making his way to the ring, representing the Usos. From San Francisco, California, weighing in at 242 pounds.
Oh, hang on a second. Drew McIntyre attacking Jey Uso at ringside. Oh, one half of the WWE Tag Team Champions ambushing main event Jey Uso here as they are set for a battle to kick things off tonight here in Vancouver on SmackDown. McIntyre looking to get the edge. Well, as we mentioned a moment ago, ladies and gentlemen, based off the chaos between these two men at ringside 2 weeks ago, their counterparts, their tag team partners, Jimmy Uso and Sheamus, barred from ringside tonight for this matchup. McIntyre and Jey set to go one-on-one, and McIntyre obviously, as the bell sounds here in Rogers Arena, looking to set the precedent over one of the #1 contenders for the tag team titles come WrestleMania. The Usos owed a WWE Tag Team Championship opportunity. They will get it come WrestleMania Sunday in Las Vegas. But right now, it is Drew McIntyre all over main event Jey Uso. I'll tell you what, a chaotic start to SmackDown thus far. First, what happened in the parking lot before we went on the air. And now Drew McIntyre and Jey Uso wasting no time, getting right down to business here in Vancouver tonight. Drew McIntyre in the home of the Canucks, breaking things down into a hockey fight as he sends Jey Uso off the apron that time with a 10 beat to the boundary. Taking a page out of his tag team partner, the Celtic Warrior Sheamus' book, as he continues to just pummel Jey Uso. I'll tell you what, the Usos in the final SmackDown before the Royal Rumble back in January became the #1 contenders for the tag team titles. McIntyre and Sheamus attacked the Usos after the matchup, beat them down, embarrassed them as they shoved them out of the ring. Jey and Jimmy have been hell-bent on retribution ever since. And certainly McIntyre still believes he would be the World Heavyweight Champion today if it weren't for the outside interference of the Usos a number of weeks ago here on SmackDown. McIntyre with a bone to pick with Jey Uso, and the same can be said about Jey towards McIntyre. Of course, it was a couple of weeks ago. McIntyre, Sheamus, and the re-emergence, of Finn Balor picked up that six-man tag team victory against the World Heavyweight Champion Damian Priest and the Usos back in Perth, Australia at the Elimination Chamber. Right now, Jey Uso, both figuratively and literally up against the wall, literally up against those buckles right now, but figuratively, the Usos is being fought to fight an uphill battle. McIntyre and Sheamus have had their numbers as of late. At least continue to get the edge at the very least, as Jey Uso has just been struggling to find a way in this matchup. It has been one-way traffic since before the bell sounded, as McIntyre is just picking apart one half of the #1 contenders for the tag team titles. McIntyre and Sheamus have been the tag team champions here on SmackDown since May 31st of last year. They've turned away Fraxium, they've turned away Alpha Academy, they've turned away the Motor City Machine Guns. And those are just in tag team title matches. New Catch Republic, another team on that list. Jey and Jimmy Uso, many believe the team that could be the ones to take down McIntyre and Sheamus at WrestleMania, but if the six-man tag team matchup at the Elimination Chamber tells us anything, and certainly by the way things are going so far tonight here in Vancouver, maybe a long night come Las Vegas, Nevada for Jey and Jimmy. One-way traffic, as we mentioned, since the bell sounded here. It has been all Drew McIntyre since even before the bell sounded here in the Rogers Arena, as McIntyre just continues to be all over main event Jey. Spine buster, float over into the pin. Here we go, Jey Uso, somehow still alive. We can't discount Jey Uso. Gotten very familiar once again seeing his brother by his side. Make no mistake about it, it was last year at WrestleMania that Jey became the United States champion all on his own. It was also last year at WrestleMania that Drew McIntyre walked into the main event as World Heavyweight Champion, something he thought he was going to be doing again and believes he would be doing again if it weren't for the Usos. Jey starting to fight back, starting to see some daylight on the horizon. Senior referee Charles Robinson really getting caught up in the crosshairs of this matchup as Jey, big time maneuver to take the Scottish Warrior off his feet. Drew McIntyre for the first time in your opening bout tonight on SmackDown. Up against the walls, Jey Uso off the middle rope with the crossbody. Jey Uso starting to rally here. Jimmy and Sheamus may be banned from ringside, but that doesn't mean Jey Uso is lost on his own. McIntyre rolling to the outskirts. Here comes Jey with the tope suicida to the outside. Drew McIntyre wiped out, and all of a sudden this matchup has been turned on its head. WrestleMania looming in just a couple of weeks. Chaos afoot here on SmackDown. Jey Uso going to get momentum on his side for the #1 contenders. Missile drop kick, shot out like a cannon off the top rope. And I don't think Jey is done yet. Pop up, neck breaker. Will that be all she wrote? Not just yet, Drew McIntyre still alive. A great effort, nevertheless, by Jey Uso to at least try to play catch-up in this matchup after Drew McIntyre was just all over Jey for a number of minutes. Oh, there's Drew, creating some distance that time, and that Glaswegian kiss takes Jey off his feet. Oh, and Jey ever emphatically making sure this matchup is far from over. McIntyre striking with that headbutt, taking main event Jey Uso off his feet. Jey may have kicked out, maybe surviving, but far from thriving here. As McIntyre picking up where he left off a few minutes ago, and that's with the incapacitation of Jey Uso. I'm sure Big Jimmy Uso, as well as the other half of the tag team champions, Sheamus, have a close eye on this matchup, maybe barred from ringside tonight, but they will not be the case come WrestleMania. WrestleMania Sunday night, March the 8th, McIntyre and Sheamus will defend the WWE Tag Team titles against the rightful #1 contenders, Jey and Jimmy, the Usos. McIntyre off the air raid crash might have just put this match to bed. And another kick out by Jey. McIntyre struggling to keep down Jey Uso tonight, even after ambushing him at ringside prior to the bell here. Oof. Nothing fancy about that boot. That's the frustration of McIntyre starting to come alive. McIntyre wants nothing more than to get another victory over the Usos tonight, just as they did in that six-man tag team matchup back at the Elimination Chamber. They could squander all the momentum of the #1 contenders. Jey and Jimmy certainly gonna feel deflated heading into the grandest stage of them all. As Vancouver rallies behind Jey Uso, and Jey's got this capacity audience here in the Rogers Arena on their feet. Jey Uso, former United States champion. Drew McIntyre, former World Heavyweight champion. But both of these men have their sights set on the tag team titles. McIntyre now hoisted on top. Drew able to get Jey off his tail and the Hangman's neck breaker. And Jey Uso takes the fall again. Now McIntyre once again gonna wipe out Jey Uso. Clothesline over the top rope. Jey going flying to the outside. This matchup, even prior to it starting, the fight began at ringside, and now it's going to continue. Jey Uso has been put through the ringer in this matchup by one half of the WWE Tag Team Champions, the Scottish Warrior, Drew McIntyre. Jey Uso wiped out referee Charles Robinson at a count of 5 here. Jey coming in contact with those diamond-plated steps, but trying to fight back nevertheless here in Vancouver, BC. Count of 7. These guys got to get the fight back inside of the ring here. McIntyre putting on the brakes. Claymore! Referees at a count of 9. McIntyre just wiped out Jey with a Claymore and makes it back to the ring just in the nick of time. Well, Jey Uso was fighting an uphill battle since before this thing even began. McIntyre jumping him at ringside, all over Jey for the first 4 or 5 minutes of this contest. And although main event Jey Uso starting to rally, had Vancouver behind him, and had some shining lights in this contest, it unfortunately just wasn't enough. Albeit, however, McIntyre electing for the count out as he was struggling to pin Jey Uso's shoulders to the mat from bell to bell. Momentum on the side of the tag team champions heading into WrestleMania. Either way you spin it, McIntyre victorious tonight here on SmackDown.
Here's your winner, the Scottish Warrior, Drew McIntyre.
Well, a rough trip to Vancouver, BC for main event Jey Uso. But when the Usos are standing side by side in Las Vegas, Nevada, maybe they will find a different fate. It is coming up on WrestleMania Sunday. McIntyre and Sheamus have held the gold since May 31st of last year. Now they walk in to WrestleMania for their biggest challenge yet. Jey and Jimmy Uso await them for the tag team title bout. Well, speaking of WrestleMania, we continue to move one step closer to finding Ilya Dragunov's #1 contender for the United States Championship. Trick Williams advancing in the Eliminator last week. Later on tonight, Shinsuke Nakamura one-on-one with Aleister Black. The winner moves on to fight Trick next week here on SmackDown. And also coming up tonight in Vancouver, the red, white, blue, and gold of the women's division will be on the line. Giulia awaits a matchup with Io Sky at WrestleMania, but tonight she runs into the rough and tough Ivy Nile. The Women's United States Championship on the line later tonight.
In case you've been living under a rock, WWE is on fire right now.
Professional wrestling is electrifying once again.
And next year, we're bringing the show of shows to Las Vegas. WrestleMania in the entertainment capital of the world. Only question is, are you ready?
We want to take you back to last week on SmackDown. Chaos was afoot as big Bronson Reed and the phenomenal AJ Styles came brawling out of the backstage area amidst the WWE Universe and then down the ringside. It seemed as if it was Bronson Reed who instituted this fight behind the curtain. Styles did all he could to fight back, but ultimately this premeditated attack aided Bronson Reed as he squashed AJ Styles with a tsunami. We can only assume that Bronson Reed ticked off that Styles had eliminated him from the Elimination Chamber. We know that Bronson Reed has issued a challenge to AJ Styles to meet him one-on-one at WrestleMania. Remains to be seen if Styles will accept that challenge, but what we do know is that big Bronson Reed is set for the main event, where he will go one-on-one with the greatest of all time, John Cena, who makes his final appearance right here on SmackDown. But we're going to keep it on here on Thursday Night SmackDown, live from the Rogers Arena in Vancouver, BC. The young OG, Javon Evans, had a hand in last week's main event, ensuring the Cruiserweight Champion of the World, Dirty Dominic Mysterio, couldn't run away from a fight with Seth freaking Rollins. And you are looking at a young man who never runs away from a fight, the young OG, Javon Evans.
And his opponent from Greensboro, North Carolina, weighing in at 170 pounds, Javon Evans.
Well, Javon Evans, of course, recently getting back in the fold surrounding the Cruiserweight Championship of the World here on SmackDown. Was a part of that triple threat matchup on the Elimination Chamber kickoff show with Dragon Lee and Dirty Dom. Dominic Mysterio, of course, retaining the championship, albeit pinning Dragon Lee. So for Javon Evans' case, he may feel like he's still owed another opportunity at the Cruiserweight Championship of the World. Well, speaking of said gold and speaking of Dirty Dom, another Judgment Day representative in the Irish Ace, JD McDonough, and a former Cruiserweight champion at that, set to go one-on-one here with Javon Evans right here on Thursday Night SmackDown, as Evans is high out of the gate. Javon knows what it's like to hold that Cruiserweight title. Held it for 3 weeks last summer, defeating Dom to win it, losing it back to Dominic Mysterio just a few short weeks later. Javon Evans has seen some ups and downs over his last year, full year coming up here on SmackDown for the young OG. I'm sure Javon would like nothing more than to get back in the ring with Dominic one more time with the Cruiserweight Championship of the World on the line. Well, it remains to be seen if Evans is going to prove himself worthy of being #1 contender. I'm sure JD McDonough is here to squander any momentum that the young OG may have in mind. Oh my goodness! Poison Rana by McDonough in the early moments of this matchup, and Javon Evans able to kick out, but at what cost? JD McDonough matching Javon's energy here. Evans came out hot out of the gate, and JD saying, you want to fight that way? I'm going for the kill. Javon Evans able to kick out of that Poison Rana moments ago, but just collapsed off the collision with the buckles in the corner, and obvious damage done here as the Judgment Day representative is looking to get rid of potential Cruiserweight Championship challengers. Dirty Dominic Mysterio, a 3-time Cruiserweight champion over the last year, won the title for the very first time at last year's WrestleMania. Javon Evans was the man who defeated Dom to not only win his first title, but end Dirty Dom's first reign. A lot of history between those two men as Javon Evans here, stuck in the ring with the Irish Ace, JD McDonough, who may just have Evans' momentum set to go up in smoke. Well, there's Evans putting on the brakes. McDonough trying to fight back and not allow a rally, but Javon Evans planting that boot right on the jawline. And the young OG, so excited to watch inside of that ring. And hard to catch for his opponents. They don't call this young man bouncy for no reason. Using the top rope to his advantage, whipping him off to the fourth quarter and cutting him in half. Javon Evans, one of the highest flyers in the game, one of the most funnest superstars to watch. Evans off the top rope and levels McDonough once more. And he's still not done. Springboard senton. Javon Evans opening up the catalog for JD McDonough here. I think after that poison Rana, Javon realizes he has got to bring his best, deliver that sliced bread out of the corner. And it's a kick out by JD. McDonough able to kick out as Javon Evans is bringing his best, put his best foot forward here on SmackDown. Oh, McDonough went for the headbutt, got caught. Javon not looking to allow a comeback here for the Irish Ace. Another former Cruiserweight champion in his own right. McDonough on a wobbly foundation, big time cutter. And Javon on top, McDonough in the drop zone. High frog splash from the heavens. And it's a big victory for Javon Evans here on SmackDown.
Here is your winner,
Well, Javon Evans came out swinging from the opening bell. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. JD McDonough did his damnedest to try to match that energy of the young OG, but simply it wasn't enough. Javon's obviously got championship aspirations. And with a victory over the Judgment Day's JD McDonough tonight, you gotta believe Javon Evans is moving one step closer. And, oh, wait a minute here. Dirty Dominic Mysterio hitting the ring. Mysterio ambushing the man who tossed him back into the line of fire against Seth Rollins last week on SmackDown. Dirty Dom not looking to allow a celebration in victory here for the young OG. Dominic Mysterio, the three-time and current Cruiserweight champion, certainly proud of his efforts. Javon Evans victorious nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen. He struggles to get to his feet into this attack by... Oh, wait a minute here. Well, Dominic, he's not done just yet. He's got a damn ladder in the ring and just cracked Javon over the skull with it. Well, Dominic Mysterio looking to send a message tonight, especially after the events of last week here on SmackDown as he crushes the young OG on the steel rugs of that ladder. Well, Javon Evans may be victorious, but certainly doesn't look like a winner. And, well, what's this now? Well, that's the WWE Women's Champion Roxanne Perez from Monday Night Raw. I don't know what she's doing here on SmackDown, but seems to be chatting it up with Liv Morgan of the Judgment Day, who... Well, speaking of Liv Morgan, ladies and gentlemen, we can confirm that coming up on WrestleMania Saturday, the Judgment Day's Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, who have been gunning for an opportunity at the Women's Tag Team Championship, are going to get just that. They go 2v2 against Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair on WrestleMania Saturday. And also coming up on WrestleMania Saturday in Las Vegas, the Women's World Championship will be on the line as the United States Champion and Royal Rumble match winner, Giulia, is signed, sealed, and set to be delivered for this dream matchup against the defending champion, the Genius of the Sky, Io Sky. But will Giulia walk into WrestleMania as a champion?
The following contest is scheduled for one fall and is for the WWE Women's United States Championship. Introducing the challenger from Knoxville, Tennessee, Ivy Nile.
Well, it was a couple of weeks ago here on SmackDown that American Maids Ivy Nile ambushed Giulia down the aisle, incapacitating the beautiful Madness on that night. The following week, it was Ivy Nile who pinned the shoulders of Giulia in that mixed tag team matchup featuring Chad Gable and the Men's United States Champions, Ilya Dragunov. Well, Giulia may have her sights set on WrestleMania, but Ivy Nile's got her sights set on Giulia's gold. It's been a hell of a 2026 thus far for this woman. But just a few short weeks away from WrestleMania, is she about to come up short? Will she be walking in to the show of shows without her United States Championship?
And her opponent from Tokyo, Japan, the WWE Women's United
Well, Giulia winning the Women's United States Championship from Liv Morgan back on the first SmackDown of this year. She has defended it successfully against Naomi. Now she looks to do so again against Ivy Nile. Giulia, of course, the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble match winner, and regardless of the outcome tonight, is guaranteed for a Women's World Championship opportunity at WrestleMania against Io Sky. Well, Giulia, of course, looking to walk into WrestleMania with her hand raised high and the United States Championship around her waist, and certainly momentum on the line as well for Giulia as the United States Championship is set to be defended here. You gotta wonder if in the back of Giulia's mind is that recent upset victory in the mixed tag team matchup for Ivy Nile. Giulia is not focused on the task at hand, is already looking towards WrestleMania. Ivy may be on the verge of yet another upset here, and maybe about to take away the prestigious Women's United States Championship for the beautiful Madness. There has been 3 Women's United States champions since the championship's inception last year at WrestleMania. Is there about to be a 4th added to that lineage? We're going to find out right here and right now as the United States gold is defended in the middle of the North. Referee Jessica Carr on hand for this contest as we are underway. Challenger Ivy Nile, champion Giulia. One-on-one here, the Women's United States title on the line. Ivy Nile's left Giulia laying in the past and has also pinned her shoulders in recent weeks. But now the lights are on bright. Now the title's on the line. Now is where you need the victory more than ever. It's what matters most tonight as Ivy looks to make some history and become the 4th ever Women's United States champion. Giulia, of course, as we mentioned, so much going on for that woman. In 2026, it's been a busy year for her already, a successful one at that. But she is not solely focused on Ivy Nile tonight. That may come back to haunt her. And Ivy may be on the verge of leaving here the champion. She might have just caught Giulia early. Only a 1 count that time. Of course, Giulia, as tough as they come, entered at number 3. And the Women's Royal Rumble matchup went all the way to the end. Giulia knows how to fight inside of that ring for long periods of time. Ivy Nile better be ready for a war of attrition tonight. I'm sure the Women's World Champion Io Sky has got her sights set on this matchup as well. She has been champion since WrestleMania Saturday last year in Philadelphia. Set to walk in to WrestleMania this year, still with that same championship reign as the Women's World Champion. Been a hell of a 12 months for the 2025 Women's Superstar of the Year, Io Sky. Giulia is hot on her tail. Really inadvertently tonight, Io Sky may be thanking Ivy Nile if Ivy's able to get the victory and kind of pull some of that momentum away from the beautiful Madness Giulia. Or it remains to be seen if Ivy's going to be able to get the job done. I do commend Ivy Nile coming out here by herself tonight. No Chad Gable. He was turned away by Trick Williams last week here on SmackDown. No Brutus and Julius Creed as well. Ivy's going to look to make history, and she's looking to do it all by herself. Certainly has the talent to do so. Rough, tough, and powerful inside of that ring. But Giulia, however, with different plans as she reverses Ivy Nile's suplex into one of her own. Giulia not looking to see defeat. So close to the biggest matchup of that woman's career and what will be her WrestleMania debut in Allegiant Stadium. Giulia scraping up the face of the American-made representative. Paintbrush with that boot. Ivy Nile looking up at the lights of Rogers Arena. Now Giulia perched on the middle, and there's that patented missile drop kick that has become so familiar in Giulia's arsenal over the last year. Giulia making her SmackDown debut last June. Has made a lot of waves since that night. Has been in the ring with SmackDown's best. We're going to make more history at WrestleMania, but first she's got to focus on Ivy Nile, as she might have just put her away off the double underhook. Not just yet. Ivy Nile able to pop the shoulder and keep her championship hopes alive at least for another moment here in Vancouver. Look at Ivy. Talking about her power, don't underestimate the agility. Nice head scissors takedown that time by 1/4 of American-made, and there's the fireman's carry takeover as well. Certainly maneuver she has picked up from Master Chad Gable of American Made. Put together American Made last year on Raw. Got the group shifted over to SmackDown back in the late part of fall. They have been in search of championship gold ever since. Chad Gable's had some opportunities at Ilya Dragunov's United States title. Even had an opportunity in the Eliminator last week. Unfortunately, Gable unable to find the results he wanted. But maybe Ivy Nile's going to write a different story here. Giulia looking worse for wear, and we saw this a couple of weeks ago in the mixed tag team matchup. The big torture rack, ever powerful, ever emphatic, and ever destructive by the #1 contender. Giulia, all kinds of tied up here in a bad spot. Trying to fight back out of the submission hold as Ivy Nile legitimately torturing the Women's United States Champion. There's Giulia fighting back. Big boot right across the face. Starting to unleash now. Ivy saying, nuh-uh, not today. And she relies on that enziguri that has already aided her throughout this championship bout. Ivy Nile not looking to allow a rally from the defending champion. If Ivy wants to be the victor here, she has got to be the trendsetter. Face first once more goes Giulia as Ivy desperately looks to become the champion, and it doesn't get any closer than that. The beautiful Madness now rolling out to the apron, trying to get her wherewithal. Ivy Nile in hot pursuit. Oh, Giulia scaling the ropes, but Ivy hot at her tail, and Giulia's gonna take the fall from the sky. Might have been a costly misstep, scaling the ropes as Ivy Nile now with her eyes locked on Giulia, but Giulia fights back. Ivy might have gave Giulia too much time to recover. She's going up and she's going down. Cannot give the beautiful Madness any moment to breathe. And Giulia not done just yet. Looking for the exclamation point with that Northern Lights bomb. Giulia now into the cover on Ivy Nile. This one's over. Giulia gonna retain her championship gold.
Here is your winner, and still the WWE Women's United States Champion, Giulia.
Well, Ivy Nile, as tough as they come, and certainly gave Giulia a fight here tonight. But the Women's United States Championship going to remain with the 2026 Royal Rumble match winner. A big victory for the beautiful Madness as she turns right into the waiting arms of the Women's World Champion, Io Sky. Oh, it's the Women's World title that'll be defended at WrestleMania, but dare I say, Io Sky giving a little glance to that United States Championship as she stares down her WrestleMania adversary. Can't get enough universe mode? PLE kickoff shows, live events, all exclusive to Noah Nation Gaming channel members. Hit the join button down below and gain access to more universe than ever before. Well, we are back live inside of Rogers Arena in Vancouver for Thursday Night SmackDown. WrestleMania is approaching, and we are set to move one step closer to determining the #1 contender for Ilya Dragunov's United States Championship in Las Vegas. Last week, it was Trick Williams who advanced. This week, it is Nakamura and Aleister Black who look to punch their ticket to next week's Eliminator Finals. Well, Shinsuke Nakamura stood eye to eye with Ilya Dragunov in the backstage area a number of weeks ago, setting his sights on the United States Championship. But this man, the master of the dark arts, the sinister Aleister Black, has been in the ring with Ilya Dragunov, is desperate for another go-around, and has the opportunity to move one step closer here tonight. Aleister Black rising from the shadows, and the question is, will he be rising come WrestleMania? It was last week that Trick Williams turned away American-made's Chad Gable. Trick now awaits the winner of this contest next week in Toronto, right here on SmackDown, where we will determine the rightful #1 contender for the United States Championship, the title currently held by the Mad Dragon, Ilya Dragunov. Ilya Dragunov has certainly been successful, 3-0 at WrestleMania in all 3 of his appearances, all of them being championship matches. Dragunov guaranteed to walk in to his 4th straight WrestleMania, this time as the United States Champion. The only question is, who's his challenger gonna be? We move one step closer to finding out right here and right now in the middle of Rogers Arena. And of course, still to come tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the franchise, the greatest of all time, John Cena makes his final appearance right here on SmackDown before his retirement bout against Braun Breaker on WrestleMania Sunday. John Cena set to go one-on-one with the Auszilla, Big Bronson Reed. That is coming up later tonight in your main event here in Vancouver. But we got Aleister Black one-on-one with the King of Strong Style, Shinsuke Nakamura. It's the United States Championship Eliminator. It's live and in living color right now. 2 of the hardest hitters in all of WWE. 2 of the most precision strikers in this industry today. Set to go one-on-one. This should be a doozy here on SmackDown. Aleister Black recently went one-on-one with Ilya Dragunov for the United States Championship. Frustrated after that matchup, tried to ambush Dragunov. Dragunov sent him out of the ring. Aleister and Trick with some unfinished business as of late here on SmackDown. But Shinsuke Nakamura with his own desires of getting in the ring with the Mad Dragon. And Aleister Black, the first of 2 men who could stand in his way of that. Everybody with their own motives, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to one similar goal, and that's challenging for the United States Championship on the biggest night of the year, WrestleMania. Shinsuke Nakamura taking Aleister Black off his feet here. We've already seen numerous strikes thrown in the last minute since the bell sounded here in Rogers Arena. Nakamura looking to take out the competition en route to the show of shows. Big time knee draping Aleister Black over the apron. Aleister Black, who has been back here in WWE, it's the late part of the fall, early part of the fall, we shall say, and has had a couple of opportunities to become the United States Champion, all of which have not gone the way of the master of the dark arts. But his return to WrestleMania could be the night that he brings home the gold. He's just got to get through the next 2 weeks of competition in order to get that opportunity. Now it's Aleister Black lighting up Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura may be the king of strong style, but if anybody can hang in there with Nakamura in terms of strikes, it's got to be Aleister. Nakamura, just when you thought Aleister was about to start to take over there, Shinsuke throwing some of his best and knocking Black right off his boots, and Shinsuke is just throwing some wild yet precision strikes, and they're all landing here. Shinsuke all kinds of fired up. Aleister set to the far corner. Nakamura full head of steam. Aleister trying to get the boots up to no avail. Nakamura now with jets underneath his feet, dragging Black down to the canvas. Man, does Shinsuke Nakamura look motivated tonight or what? Aleister Black may be wishing he was in the ring with anybody else but the king of strong style right now, as Nakamura hell-bent on entering WrestleMania as the rightful #1 contender for the United States title. Again, the winner of this matchup meets Trick Williams next week in Toronto. The winner of that match will meet Ilya Dragunov in Las Vegas, Nevada. Shinsuke Nakamura with Aleister Black draped over the top rope. Nakamura really starting to take over here. That'll knock the wind out of you any day of the week, twice on Thursday. Big knee right to the abdominal. And now Shinsuke sending Aleister Black up and down with the Death Valley driver. Sits out with it into the pin. Oh, and Aleister Black just at the last second able to pop that shoulder off the canvas. Big kick out that time by Aleister. Nakamura bringing Aleister back to his feet. Nice sidestep of the Master of the Dark Arts that time. And Aleister now with that knee that lands right on the jawline. And these guys have been striking hard, striking fast. 100 miles a minute since the bell sounded here. Not a lot of wasted motion between Aleister and Shinsuke tonight on SmackDown. It's all about going to WrestleMania. It's all about moving one step closer. Tonight's the kind of night you bring your best. Let adrenaline fuel you and let the punishment be dealt with tomorrow. Nakamura draped up in the ropes and Aleister just lighting him up there. Aleister loves to implore those knees. Shinsuke feeling the worst of it. Now on the outside and hits Aleister Black with a meteor off the apron. Shinsuke Nakamura's been wiped out. And how the tables have turned is it looks like it's Aleister Black who may be crossing the finish line first. Nakamura back to his feet, yet barely as Aleister just wrestles him down to the canvas. And it's another big kick out here. Another near fall, and this time it's Nakamura saving his chances of going to WrestleMania. Aleister Black lighting up Shinsuke. Several of kicks. The strikes have been the predecessor of this matchup. Throwing some wild strikes there. It's Nakamura now. Trying to get back in control of this matchup. Heading out to the apron. Aleister grabbing a hold. Nakamura obviously with something in mind. Hanging up Aleister the top rope. We said that knee a few minutes ago by Nakamura would knock the wind out of Aleister. That will do it as well. Just draping Aleister's throat over the top rope, and now off the middle, dropping the elbow. Shinsuke Nakamura starting to once again get in the driver's seat. And Nakamura eyeing up Aleister here. Black's looking worse for wear after getting hung up in the top rope, followed by that elbow by Shin. Nakamura looking to go for the kill. Aleister Black, however, standing switch, well-timed reversal into the Black Mass. Nakamura never saw it coming. Aleister's heading to Toronto next week.
Here is your winner, Aleister Black.
Aleister Black striking when it mattered most, knocking out Nakamura. And now we know that another chapter in the growing rivalry between Aleister Black and Trick Williams will be written next week, and the stakes couldn't be any higher. Trick set to go one-on-one with Black. The winner's going to WrestleMania. The winner becomes #1 contender for Ilya Dragunov's United States Championship. We will find out who that man will be next week right here on SmackDown. Oh, wait a minute here. Hold on, at the top of the stage, it's Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. Oh, we saw what happened before we went on the air tonight with Balor ambushing Damian Priest in the parking lot. Let us not forget how we went off the air last week on SmackDown with Balor laying out Rollins in the middle of the ring after Rollins' victory over Dirty Dominic Mysterio. Well, I don't know who started this fight. I'm going to take a guess it was Finn. He already jumped Damian earlier on. He was probably looking to do the same against Rollins. That triple threat for the World Heavyweight Championship coming up on WrestleMania Saturday. So much history between the competitors. And obviously, no love lost between the champion and his two challengers. Well, Finn Balor, the man who returned at the Elimination Chamber, who pinned Damian Priest in the midst of that six-man tag team matchup. And then you got Seth Rollins, the man who won the Elimination Chamber matchup. Rollins and Balor at odds here. I think we're going to need more than referee Chad Patton to separate these two individuals. We've yet to get an update on Damian Priest. We know he's being checked out by medical earlier on after Balor jumped him in the parking lot and crushed his shoulder blades, the back of his head, all of it, in the trunk of that car. Well, this fight's starting to get dangerous here, surrounded by concrete and a capacity audience in the Rogers Arena here in Vancouver. Rollins and Balor await Damian Priest at WrestleMania, but obviously the history between these two men, especially after last week it being reignited, it's all coming down. It's all coming to blows here on SmackDown. I don't know who started this fight, but I got a feeling Rollins is looking to finish it, getting Balor off his tail. Balor, maybe the one trying to get Rollins off his tail as he hops the guardrail, coming to ringside, but Seth Rollins in hot pursuit. Finn Balor could have been looking to take out both the champion and challenger, get an edge on his WrestleMania opponents, if that is the case. No matter who started this fight behind the curtain, we're inside of the middle of the ring right now, and it's Seth Rollins and Finn Balor coming to blows just a few short weeks before WrestleMania. And we started off tonight with tensions riding high. Chaos was afoot. And now Rollins with a curb stomp to Finn Balor. Rollins wiping out Balor inside of the ring. Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know who started this fight behind the curtain, but Seth Rollins going to be the one to finish it. Oh, wait a minute here. Damian Priest now in the ring. Well, Damian Priest going after Seth Rollins. Well, Priest with so much bad blood, with Rollins going back to 2024 and the early part of last year as well. Priest obviously leaving medical attention, getting involved in this fight, but it does not work out as Rollins drops Priest with a curb stomp as well. Well, Balor attacked Priest earlier on, laid him out in the parking lot. Priest trying to get involved in the fray here in the middle of the Rogers Arena, but he suffers a curb stomp just like the Prince. Well, as we are on the road to WrestleMania, it is Seth Rollins who gets the last laugh tonight in Vancouver. But coming up next, before we get to his final matchup in Las Vegas, the greatest of all time, John Cena, makes one more appearance on the show that started it all. SmackDown, Cena, Reed, next!
In case you've been living under a rock, WWE is on fire right now.
Professional wrestling is electrifying once again.
And next year, we're bringing the show of shows to Las Vegas. WrestleMania in the entertainment capital of the world. Only question is, are you ready?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, earlier tonight we said the Women's World Champion Io Sky might have been looking at the United States Championship a little bit closely. Giulia retaining her championship against Ivy Nile. And we can confirm that the ante for WrestleMania has officially been upped. Not only will Io Sky's Women's World Championship be on the line, but Giulia's Women's United States Championship will be at stake as well. Giulia, Io Sky, it's winner takes all on WrestleMania Saturday. A huge dream matchup coming up in Las Vegas. But what about next week in Toronto? Some issues to be settled between Bayley and Naomi, who after Naomi's attack on Bayley last week on SmackDown, obviously the ties have been severed between these two women. Bayley one-on-one with Naomi next week. And after what we just saw moments ago, and in anticipation of the World Championship match at WrestleMania, next week in Toronto, it is the Prince Finn Balor one-on-one with the visionary Seth freaking Rollins. The two men that'll challenge for Damian Priest's world title at WrestleMania will collide next Thursday night on SmackDown. But it is main event time from Vancouver inside a capacity Rogers Arena.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall. Making his way to the ring from Black Forest, South Australia, weighing in at 330 pounds, Big Bronson Reed.
We mentioned earlier tonight, after the ambush on AJ Styles last week, Big Bronson Reed has challenged the man, that being AJ Styles, the man that eliminated him for the Elimination Chamber back in Australia, to a match at WrestleMania. Still a wait to hear from AJ Styles whether that matchup has been accepted or not. We know Styles is not here in Vancouver after the attack from Bronson Reed last week. But Reed obviously looking to make a statement at the grandest stage of them all. And for the final time on SmackDown, the franchise is in the house.
And his opponent from West Newbury, Massachusetts, weighing in at 251 pounds, the greatest of all time, John Cena.
On WrestleMania Sunday, that man, John Cena, will compete in his final matchup, one-on-one with the unpredictable badass, Braun Breaker. But it was back in June of 2002 that John Cena debuted right here on SmackDown. And tonight, live from Vancouver, John Cena competes in his final match inside of a SmackDown ring. And talk about competition standing in the way of the greatest of all time, as he looks across the ring from the Auszilla, Big Bronson Reed. Well, John Cena has stated many a times over the last year that in anticipation of his final match at WrestleMania, he wasn't going to be slowing down. He wants competition and he wants it at the highest, and that's what he gets here tonight on SmackDown against one pissed off Auszilla in Bronson Reed. And I gotta say, after what we saw Bronson Reed due to AJ Styles last week, the brawl that started behind the curtain, dragging AJ Styles through the WWE Universe and squashing him inside of the ring with a tsunami, this is certainly a daring challenge for John Cena to take on tonight. And many of superstars have stated that they were going to end John Cena's retirement tour early. All have failed to do so one way or another, but Bronson Reed here, he's got his sights set on trying to get in the ring with AJ Styles at WrestleMania. Could just be looking to use John Cena as an example, a stepping stone. Bronson Reed could be the man who ends John Cena's retirement tour just a few weeks short of its final stop. This is the first time since last February that John Cena competes in a match here on SmackDown. Been a part of the Raw roster over the last 12 months, but of course with his retirement coming up, one last stop here on the blue brand, a must for the franchise. Bronson Reed out to make it an unsuccessful trip back to the soil that started it all many years ago. Bronson Reed, ever since getting drafted to SmackDown last spring, has been hell-bent on trying to become the World Heavyweight Champion. Many of his superstars have stood in Reed's way. Great rivalry with LA Knight several months ago, and of course, as of late, it seems that AJ Styles is the latest man that has gotten in the way of the Auszilla here on SmackDown, as John Cena, with a great feat of strength, muscles Bronson Reed up and over. Little assistance off the turnbuckles as Bronson Reed came into collision with him. But nevertheless, Cena getting the big man off his feet, at least for the moment. John Cena, of course, anticipates his final matchup, one-on-one with Braun Breaker at WrestleMania, the man he defeated last August at SummerSlam to win his 17th WWE Championship. Braun Breaker, after costing John Cena that matchup against Jacob Fatu at the Elimination Chamber, stated that he cannot move on with his career. He cannot focus on becoming the WWE Champion again until he rights the wrong of last summer, until he defeats John Cena. Breaker's going to have that opportunity come WrestleMania. WrestleMania Sunday, to be exact. But John Cena's focus right now And the man who just got the hell of a dodge into that leg drop, and that's Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed eliminated from the Elimination Chamber matchup on his home soil in Australia by the phenomenal AJ Styles. In Reed's mind, Styles the reason that he will not be challenging for the championship that he so desires, the world title, come WrestleMania. After the destruction we saw by the hands of the walking weapon of it, Bronson Reed last week. Reed looking to make more noise come WrestleMania, looking to get back into the ring with an old foe in AJ Styles. And I am sure looking to make a big tidal wave, the biggest tsunami yet on the show of shows, if and only if Styles accepts the challenge from the big man. There's a senton by Reed, squashing Cena in the ring, into the cover, but John Cena still alive here. Cena hot off the heels of some big-time losses at the last two premium live events. Of course, losing the Undisputed Championship to Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble, falling short to Jacob Fatu at the Elimination Chamber, albeit with a little assistance from Braun Breaker nevertheless. I'm sure Cena would love nothing more than to go into his final matchup at WrestleMania with some sort of momentum on his side, some sort of confidence at an all-time high. Victory over Bronson Reed tonight could certainly do just that, but John Cena has to overcome this obstacle standing in his way. Nice sidestep by Cena that time. Trying to take out the tree trunk size legs of Bronson Reed. It's a couple of old school Boston style haymakers that's going to drop the Auxilla. Cena now perched on top. Familiar position for John as he drops the leg. Down goes the Auxilla. Cena in position now. One last time on SmackDown. A little 5-knuckle shuffle. And now Cena hoisting the big man over into the cover. And Bronson Reed able to kick out. John Cena stacking the offense. The leg drop from the top. The 5-knuckle shuffle in the ring. But Cena finding out what many of the SmackDown superstars have found out over the last year is that Bronson Reed is one tough puzzle to figure out. They'll call this man the walking weapon of mass destruction for no reason. Had a hell of a performance inside of the Elimination Chamber, even though he came up short. Was amidst the final two in this year's Royal Rumble matchup with the eventual winner in CM Punk. There's Bronson Reed now, who's looking for a huge victory over the greatest of all time in John Cena here on Thursday Night SmackDown, and he may be on the cusp of doing so. Bronson Reed with Cena in his grasp. Looking for that Death Valley driver, that jagged edge. Taking out Cena. That's another kick out by John. Big Cena saw this matchup flash before his very eyes, put all of his might behind that kick out. Huge near fall here in Vancouver. Uh-oh. Oh, man. Cena avoided disaster that time. Now we know John Cena's going to be on Raw this Monday night. Remains to be seen what condition he's going to be in after this war of attrition against Bronson Reed. Uh-oh, Cena out on the apron, and Bronson Reed in and going to use the hardest part of the ring to his advantage. Cracking Reed's skull right on the apron this time. And John Cena now measuring his man, picking his spots wisely. Reed out on the apron, or Reed out on the floor, we shall say. Cena off the apron, gets caught. Bronson Reed into the backbreaker, the greatest of all time. We already saw one count out tonight. Could be on the verge of another. It's John Cena getting ragdolled around ringside by the Auxilla. Bronson Reed, who wants a battle with AJ Styles at WrestleMania, could be on the verge of a huge victory tonight. He could squander John Cena's momentum on his final SmackDown appearance in his Hall of Fame career. Reed looking sharp in the middle of Vancouver right now. Oh, wait a minute here. LA Knight. LA Knight coming out here. A man who's had a hell of a lot of history at Bronson Reed. Well, I don't really know why LA Knight's out here right now, but nevertheless, taking Reed's eye off the ball. Cena with the schoolboy trying to steal the victory. Not just yet, Reed's still alive. Well, Bronson Reed taking Cena off his feet. Well, Reed able to recover there, but the megastar LA Knight coming out here, distracting Bronson Reed. Been a couple of weeks since we've seen LA here on SmackDown, and oh, wait a minute here, Cena. Standing switch, Cena. Attitude adjustment to the Oscilla. And Cena scores the victory in his final SmackDown appearance. Well, Bronson Reed seemed to be all in control of this contest. After the fight got taken to the outside, it was Bronson Reed who gained the momentum. Reed had Cena dead to rights in the ring, only for the megastar LA Knight to reemerge. Well, LA Knight, who has been put on the shelf by Bronson Reed, has been injured by Bronson Reed, had returned in the Royal Rumble, that came up short to Reed in an Elimination Chamber qualifying match on the SmackDown thereafter, and we haven't seen him since. But LA Knight, for one reason or another, re-emerging tonight, taking the eye off the ball of an old rival, and assisting the greatest of all time, John Cena, in a massive victory in his final SmackDown appearance. Well, Bronson Reed thought he had AJ Styles to worry about, but it seems as if he'd forgotten about the megastar LA Knight, who has come back haunting Bronson Reed here on SmackDown.
Here's your winner,
Well, certainly a developing story between Bronson Reed, LA Knight, and even AJ Styles, but that is the victor, ladies and gentlemen. In his final SmackDown. Oh, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Braun Breaker in the ring. Spear to John Cena. Monday Night Raw's Braun Breaker has crossed enemy lines, invaded SmackDown, and just ruined John Cena's final appearance here. And Breaker getting the hell out of Dodge, just as he did at the Elimination Chamber. He cost Cena the matchup on that night, and now here tonight on SmackDown, ruining the celebration, cutting Cena in half with a spear. We're on the road to WrestleMania, and Braun Breaker is coming to collect.